Welcome, everyone. Great to have you all here. Thanks for venturing out in this typical Sydney weather. I'm from Brisbane. It was about 32 degrees when I left. I didn't bring enough warm clothes, but thanks for coming. Great to have you here. My name's Jason Forbes. I'm the Director of Sales for Spotlight Reporting here in Australia. We have GrowthWise with us, the infamous Steph Hines, who's also going to be presenting. I believe this is the agenda that we're going to be covering today. So what I thought I would do is just set the scene in terms of what's happening in this world of advisory work within the accounting industry. Who here are accountants or bookkeepers or
Yes.
Okay, good to know. Reformed, yeah. Sorry, mate. Once an accountant, always an accountant. So I work for a company called Spotlight Reporting. We've been around for about 5 years. We're all about extracting the value of accounting data and presenting management reports that either a business can use to interpret and to highlight areas of what's working well and what's not, or accountants can use to deliver advisory services. So we were born out of an accounting practice itself. Our founder, Richard Francis, had his own accounting practice. In fact, who here has heard of Xero? Or should I ask who hasn't heard of Xero? Yep.
Which question was it?
Well, probably the latter. Who hasn't? I think everyone has. But Richard was one of the first ever Xero partners. When I say partner, an accountant who'd partnered with Xero to get his clients onto Xero. And as a result, the work that he was doing with his clients in terms of management reporting became a lot more streamlined. Instead of having to get the data off his clients that he would then have to rekey into his spreadsheets and produce his management reports, he could now access that data live. And obviously the natural progression from that was, what if we can begin to automate the production of management reports? Hence, Xero was created. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. Within that time, we've grown pretty rapidly with offices in, of course, here in Australia, the UK, US, and New Zealand, which is where we originated from. We are part of what they call the Xero ecosystem, although we do integrate with QuickBooks Online. We're building a desktop integrator tool with MYOB as well. There's still a big chunk of businesses out there using MYOB that, dare I say it, might not move to online software. But over the years, we recently won Xero's Add-on Partner of the Year in New Zealand. We're used by over 500 accounting firms around the world, and we had 7,500 Spotlight reports run just last month. So we've grown pretty rapidly, which is exciting. My background, I started doing accounting at university, got halfway through, sorry guys, and thought, I don't know if this is quite for me. So I changed my major to information systems, and unbeknownst to me, I ended up then working with accounting software for the next 21 years. So who here is young enough to admit they know who Solution 6 is? Oh, good. There's a few of us. That's good. So I started with Solution 6, experience with Sage as well, 8 years with MYOB, and then 4 to 5 years with Xero. So exciting time. I was first guy on the ground with Xero up in Queensland. It was crazy back in those days. No one had heard of Xero. It was this small little startup out of New Zealand. The data was online. How secure is my data online? Who can see it? All the kind of concerns that we're no longer discussing. But at the same time, going through that growth with Xero was really exciting. So I think over that 5-year period, I was able to see some quite interesting insights into the adoption of cloud applications, especially in the accounting and bookkeeping industry that we're in. So obviously, the very first one was the clients of accountants, business owners beginning to adopt products like Xero or QuickBooks Online or even MYOB Essentials. That would often be an accountant's first exposure to this world of online accounting. Or if they were a more progressive, thought-leading accountant, such as Guy or Steph, they would be pushing their clients through to Xero. So obviously, once the client starts, or the accountant starts working with their clients online, the benefits become pretty apparent. I'm not reliant on my client to send through data anymore. Part of the problem we have with online accounting software is it can be fairly narrow in scope. So when I mean that, I mean it doesn't always have all the functionality that a small business is used to having with pretty solid desktop accounting. Hence, we saw this ecosystem of add-on products spring up around Xero. So Xero has 300 to 400 add-on partners that integrate through to Xero. It's amazing. It's a bit like the Apple Store for an iPhone. It's quite amazing. So I then saw these accountants and bookkeepers beginning to put in place additional add-ons or additional software that then enhance the functionality of Xero, or what we call building the client cloud stack. So I mean, a classic example of that is a business that's perhaps using Xero. They may be using Receipt Bank, which automates the data entry, scanning receipts and whatnot, saves you having a kid in, and perhaps Deputy, which is managing, which is staff management, staff scheduling, that kind of thing. So you're beginning to build a stack of cloud products that is improving the day-to-day business. Then what I started to see was accounting practices then beginning to apply their own cloud software internally within the practice. So who here uses Google Docs, for example? Pretty much most of us, right? Yep. Dropbox, all of those. But there's now cloud software for practices. Xero Ledgers is a classic example. I won't go into too much detail. Xero Practice Manager, which Xero gives away free, which is crazy. When I worked with MYOB, we would charge upwards of $60,000 a year for practice management software. Xero give it to their partners for free. AE. AO was a bit cheaper. Yeah.
It's all we could afford at the time.
Yeah. Of course, Practice Ignition is vital for a cloud stack for an accounting practice as well, as they begin to bundle their services and website integration. Of course, Xero Tax. Xero has a tax product now, and Xero Workpapers, which was actually built by Spotlight, which is quite interesting. So clients have moved to the cloud. The accountants then start becoming aware or even building their own client stacks, and at the same time they're building a cloud stack for their own practice, which is quite interesting. So as you're working in the cloud, as you're beginning to build a bunch of online products that all integrate and work well from an accounting practice point of view, you begin to see some great efficiencies. So for example, an accountant can now go in and produce end-of-year financials off the back of what their client is using if their client's on Xero. So if you think about that for a moment, previously an accountant would have to get their financial data off the client, clean it up, import that into their own reporting software that they would have to pay for. It was quite a convoluted process. Now the client can log in over the top of the client, the accountant can log in over the top of the client, and keep an eye on the data throughout the year and produce the end-of-year financials pretty quickly, straight off the back of what the client is paying for in effect. So that creates quite a lot of efficiencies within the practice. Translate that right through to online practice management and to online tax. It's really changing the time that accountants spend on compliance work, which is interesting. So compliance work is producing tax returns and end-of-year financial type work. Now in the past, that's equated to about 80% of an accounting practice's revenue. So as they're spending less time doing that, we're starting to see the fees drop on compliance. So this is a report taken from the good, the bad and the ugly. Last year's good and bad and the ugly report, with the new one about to come out. I can't wait to see it. So this is showing the movement from 2009 through to 2014. So compliance, tax and accounting used to be 75% of a practice's revenue. Between 2009 and 2014, that dropped to 61%. So we're seeing this reduction in compliance fees. And that represents quite a chunk of revenue for an accounting practice. Fortunately, we're seeing other areas begin to go up. So right down the bottom there, you've got other business advisory. That's what we do here at Spotlight Reporting. We produce management reporting that accountants and bookkeepers are able to use to deliver those advisory services. And lo and behold, we see that has increased from 7 to 18%. So this is last year. Keep in mind, it's going to be an even bigger movement this year. So, we've always done business analytics. We've always crunched our clients' numbers. Why has the cloud changed it? Moving it online, what impact does that have? So for a start, by having data online, you're able to integrate with multiple databases, multiple integration points. So for example, let me show you. I'm just going to log into Spotlight Reporting here. I'm going to go into a client, bring up their report, and I'll show you how we access this client's data. So in this case, we've got it pointing to a zero data file. So this is accounting data, the client's accounting data sitting online. We're also importing an Excel spreadsheet. So this might be non-financial data that's not recorded in Xero coming through from a spreadsheet. We're also pulling through data from their Google Analytics account. So this is their website details. And we've also got it integrated with Workflow Max. In this case, the client's also using Workflow Max. So this is multiple integration points. So what does this mean? All of a sudden, as an accountant or as a bookkeeper, we can start to compare outlying influences on the financial data. So for example, we might have a social media campaign. Has that driven traffic through to the website? We've got our Google Analytics data coming through, so we can see if that's impacted the website. But more importantly, we can see how that correlates to revenue, which once again, we've never been able to do. I think as more and more data moves online, we're going to have more and more integration points. Okay, simple to understand. So the industry is going through a transition. We're moving away from compliance and we're moving towards advisory. The challenge is to take our clients on that journey with us. Now, our clients might not be the most financially literate, so we've got to select a starting point that they understand. And what do business owners understand? Accountants in the room? What's the first report they go to that you give them?
Cash, profit.
Cash, profit, yeah, the P&L, right? So, when you produce a Spotlight report, one of the first things we look at is the P&L side of things. So you've got a summary P&L in this instance. That could be quite detailed. It's what the client's used to seeing. The client understands the bottom line. They understand what their net profit is. But then we begin to incorporate these graphs that we've either selected from the chart gallery that's built into Spotlight reporting, or we've built ourselves. So it's these graphical representations of this data that becomes the focal point that accountants or bookkeepers can focus on when they're sitting down and having that advisory meeting with the client in a simple to understand way. I think we need to be careful we don't get too overcomplicated. The temptation for us is to come up with really cool flash animated reports, you know, that look really sexy and really, really hot. But the reality is, that's not where the industry is at. It's not where small business owners are at the moment. We've got to progress them along and get them financially literate before we start getting into these creative, animated type reports. Incorporating non-financial data is quite important. I won't labour too much on that, but obviously your accounting data isn't collecting everything. There might be customer satisfaction surveys that you might want to track. You might want to incorporate that into your board level reports. You might want to record, let's say you're a retail outlet, you might want to record the size of the retail shop and then produce your own KPI, profitability per square meterage, perhaps, especially if you've got lots of different stores. So the ability to not just look at the financial data, but look at a mixture of both financial data and non-financial data, which leads on to customizing the reports. What's important to the client is obviously where they perceive their value. And hopefully Steph is probably going to touch on that a bit more than me. But obviously the ability to go in and customize the reports is crucial. And that's where I think Spotlight reporting comes into its own. You've got the ability to go in and really customize the template. So it's just building the report here. These are all the pages. So it's reading that Xero data and Workflow Max data and Excel spreadsheet and Google Analytics data, and hopefully it will bring up the reports and allow us to begin to go in and customize these individual pages. So for example, we were looking at that profit and loss page. If I want to go in and actually customize what the client sees within there, we can. Still loading. So there was the financial data. We could select a more detailed version of that if we wanted. We could change these charts. If I click on change chart, selecting from a set of predefined different charts will save us a lot of time, or we can begin to build our own chart. In building our own chart, we can go right through to building our own formula. Trading revenue, for example, divided by, I don't know, number of employees, revenue per employee, and then graph that information. So it's a matter of sitting down and thinking about what's important for the client, what value can we deliver through to the client, and obviously customizing the template for the client, and then being able to roll out that template quick and efficiently the following reporting cycle. Which leads on to automation. Obviously, if we can automate the production of these advisory reports, the less time we can spend, or the more time we can spend, sitting down and having that discussion with them. Now, once again, a classic example of how you can begin to automate is within Spotlight Reporting, the second page was what we call an executive summary. As you can imagine, it would take a bit of time to sit down, read through the report, and begin to spell out all these highlights. I like that one. What a bonza month. But what we can do is begin to automate the production of those reports even. So for example, if I go into customize layout, once again, I think we got a bit of a slow, and then into the executive summary, there was that text that we had physically typed in, what a bonza month. But if we come down to revenue, say for example, and I wanted an extra paragraph in under revenue, I simply click on this. Oh, let's try that again. We can go in and under this auto text, we can select what we want that paragraph to say. So let's say we wanted to compare year to date versus budget. I click on that standard paragraph, and now that's automatically going to insert this paragraph here. The gross profit for year to date is what the actual amount is compared to budget this year to date, represents a variance, and so on. So now, if we were to go back, once again, that text can be automated. So beginning to automate the narrations, building our own templates, hopefully if we've sat down and we've really thought about what the client needs, can really begin to help streamline the production of these reports. Now think about how long that would have taken if you were using an Excel spreadsheet, or if you were even going through and having to type that level of data in. And I think the other way business intelligence in the cloud has changed things was certainly from Spotlight's perspective is by having quite a broad scope of offerings. We've been looking at Spotlight Reporting. Now Spotlight Reporting really is designed for high-level reporting, almost for the board. High growth companies, your best clients, top 20% if you're an accountant of client. You can consolidate up to 20 organizations, which can be really handy as well if you've ever had to consolidate multiple entities. But we also have a little brother to Spotlight Reporting called Spotlight Dashboards. Now, if I just quickly show you what a dashboard looks like, we've actually got 3 different layouts. So if you could imagine accountants and bookkeepers want to get their clients excited about advisory work. They want to be able to educate them, get them financially literate, and begin to start providing solid advice. The more advice we can give to small business owners represent 2/3 of the economy. Imagine the impact that that's going to have on the economy. So for those small business owners that are already a little bit switched on, that already have been educated about the KPIs that they need to keep an eye on, you could produce just a one-page dashboard like this, totally customizable. Give it to them every month, every reporting period, and it just gives them that insight, extracts them from the business momentarily, and gets them working on the business. Now, you're always going to have clients that will say, "No, I'm okay. Just tell me how much tax I got to pay. I don't really want to think about. I'm too busy as it is." So we've come up with a resilience report. Once again, just a one-pager that focuses on those 3 key areas that are important to a business owner, even if he doesn't want to focus on it. And that, of course, is the revenue, profit and cash. So once again, this report is totally automated. We'll have a automatic paragraph coming up with those balances live, and this pie chart showing that in this case, revenue in green is on track, cash is slightly in that warning zone, it's not quite on target, and profit is well below target. So once again, to engage the client, to educate them, to get them thinking about how well their business is doing, but more importantly, to tell them this is what we can do as financial advisors. This is why we became accountants in the first place. It wasn't to tell you how much tax you got to pay. It was to help you in your business. And there's also an even more simplistic one-page dashboard for people that just understand bar charts. And we also have a third product called Spotlight Forecasting. So this is cash flow forecasting, P&L forecasting, balance sheet forecasting. If you're not familiar, banks these days require a three-way forecast: balance sheet, cash flow, and P&L before they're going to lend money. So you can help your clients approach the bank. You can create budgets, forecast budgets. It's powerful rules and flexing. You can enter your own rules based on different general ledger codes. You can build different scenarios. Best case scenario, what we hope to achieve, and what happens if it all goes to custard. And we also have a fourth product that we call Spotlight Multi, which I don't think we'll focus on too much tonight. Probably worthwhile pointing out though, what we've gone and done to try and really get in behind practices and help them grow is we've gone and bundled forecasting, reporting, and dashboard into one product that we call Super VCFO. So what that means is accountants can get unlimited use of these three products and really scale with their clients. But guys, without going too much into a product demo, I just thought that would probably be a nice way to set the scene for Steph, who of course is the real deal, who is using our software and using it well with her clients. So Steph, come on up. I'll hand the time over to you.